Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier, and thank you kindly for stopping by. Just to remind you that we've uploaded all our Mindspeak sessions for this year. They included Dr. Richard Sesibera, the Secretary General of the EAC, Charles Island, the MD of East African Breweries, Dr. Titus Naikuni, CEO of Kenya Airways, and Christine Lagarde, the Managing Director of the IMF. My article this week was all about Times Media buying a stake in Kenya's Radio Africa, and on that note I'll put up a selfie with Patrick and Dr. Turner that we took earlier in the year. I congratulate them. In the article you'll realise why they've been highly entrepreneurial, insurgent, and they've navigated their way in a very clever way. Home thoughts, the moon was really exquisite last night. In Out of Africa, Karen Blixen speaks of how the best times to go on safari was when the moon was full. And last night I could see why, because you could see it as if it was practically daylight outside. Everyone is looking down at their phones, their iPads. We want them looking up. Looking up, you see a whole different world. Getting away from the cities and traffic, and the sky is just beautiful. Of course, they're referring to the blood moon Tetrad, and I'll put up a photograph of that. I thoroughly enjoyed Paul Theroux's last train to Zona Verde, and he begins with a flash forward to an experience with the Aikung people of northwest Namibia. I then resumed kicking behind a file of small-bodied, mostly naked men and women who were quick-stepping under a sky fretted with golden fire through the dry scrub of what was once coarsely known in Afrikaans as Boersmanland, Bushmanland, pouch-breasted women laughing among themselves, an infant with a head like a fuzzy fruit bobbing in one woman's sling, men in leather clouts clutching spears and bows, 9 of us all together, and I was thinking, as I thought for years, travelling the earth among humankind, the best of them are bare-assed. This tour de force of pseudo-ethnography would have been the end of the line for this reader had he not been a reviewer on Deadline. If you stop here, though, you will not realize that Theroux retracts this scene a few pages later. We learn that it was a reenactment staged for foreign tourists. He encounters this group again shortly after, when they have changed from animal skins back into second-hand clothes handed out by Western charities, T-shirts lettered Tommy Hilfiger and Springfield Hockey. What visitors see is a travesty in the precise meaning of the word, a dressing up in unnatural clothes. The Johansi misrepresent themselves to cater to the imaginations of fantasists, of which I was one. And the result is like taking a reenactment of Plymouth Plantation for the reality of Massachusetts today. I'm looking forward to being in Dubai this weekend. I'll put up that photograph I took of Dubai from the sky not too long ago. And last night I said to the little one I'd been feeling poorly, and she's now sleeping finally in her own room. I think I was feeling a little bit lonesome, and I said, come and sit next to me and tell me your list of things to do. And I spent a most enjoyable half hour listening to Hannah regale me with her list. And on that note of going on a holiday, I'll put up 2 photographs I found on Photo Booth. One was called Takeoffs, LaGuardia Airport, Runway 4. And the second was called Landings, Los Angeles International Airport, Runway 7R. Political reflections, separatists ignore ultimatum, tighten grip on East Ukraine. President Putin apparently called on Barack Obama to do his utmost to use the opportunities that the United States has to prevent the use of force and bloodshed. This is the Kremlin. The White House said Obama urged Russia to use its influence to get separatists in the country to stand down. The president emphasized that all irregular forces in the country need to lay down their arms, and he urged President Putin to use his influence with these armed pro-Russian groups to convince them to depart the buildings they have seized. The White House said in a statement, "Eastern Ukraine seems to be rapidly spinning out of the control of the central government. It looks increasingly like it will be a buffer zone, I think." Russian government has already made it completely clear some weeks ago that the use of violence against protesters in eastern and southern Ukraine would compel the Russian government to send in the Russian army to protect Russians. That's the inversion of the R2P rule I'd previously spoken about. The White House is confirming that the CIA Director John Brennan was in the Ukrainian capital over the weekend, and the US is confirming that the US warship USS Donald Cook, which I'll put up a photograph of it, sailing through the Bosphorus in Istanbul on April the 10th, en route to the Black Sea. The ship was repeatedly buzzed by a Russian jet over the weekend, according to the Pentagon. Colonel Warren said a Russian Su-24 aircraft or Fencer made 12 passes at low altitude near the USS Donald Cook, a destroyer that has been in the Black Sea since April 10. Russian Su-24 aircraft or Fencer, I'll put up an image of it. So we're in a very volatile situation. I think on balance, Putin is seeking to keep Ukraine on defense, or the new powers, that being Kiev, on defense, and create a buffer zone of a sort, and with the ultimate intervention rules, the R2P rules, and if things get more stressed out, he'll go in under that rule. Narendra Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party and its allies will win a majority in India elections, an opinion poll showed for the first time. I think he's taking it lock, stock and barrel. Modi's party alone will win 226 seats, its strongest ever performance. I think it might even win more than that. He is, in my opinion, a shoo-in. The merits of Modi government are, I think there are merits in the way he's run Gujarat, sort of in a very technocratic fashion, but the concern will remain surely as to how he will apply what are very sectarian views, in my opinion, I'm afraid. On that note, I'll put up a photograph of a baptized Sikh man praying at the Golden Temple during the Vaisakhi festival in Amritsar. This is by A. Weiwei, Daewoo Islands 2013 marble. The carved marble work conceptualizes the geopolitical debate. I found it on Der Spiegel, and he's got a big exhibition on which, of course, he won't be able to attend, but unrelenting A. Weiwei is the way it's described in Der Spiegel. IMF's Lipton says geopolitical risks cloud the global recovery. I'll just go through some of his comments. On the global recovery, there's some sense that the world economy is improving, and that has led people to be more calm about the situation. The risks have receded, he said. The greatest risk is complacency. Talking about inflation, saying in the US and in Japan there appear to be some prospect for moving toward their targets. In Europe, the risk is that low inflation might become embedded. We see the inflation rate in our baseline rising, but not rising to the ECB's target. So concern about deflationary impulses in Europe. we've been clear to express our concern about whether the exit from the unconventional monetary policy will be smooth or bumpy. That's partly about the US and whether the evolution of policy will permit the US to make a smooth exit or not. Whether the path of the exit will be something they can convey to the markets will understand. Whether the asynchronicity of monetary policies around the world, with the Fed probably exiting first, will it mean movements in asset prices or exchange rates, and will it be difficult for the world to digest? This is the interesting piece. The new set of risks are geopolitical risks. Most of the attention is to the question of what's happening in the Ukraine and the relationship between Russia and the US, but we've also pointed to the geopolitical risks in the Middle East, what's happening in Syria, and geopolitical risks in terms of the relationship between China and Japan. So there are geopolitical risks that are a bit more on the radar screen than in past years, and given the fragility of recovery, they are more salient than they might otherwise be. I thought that was extremely on point. On the economic risks from sanctions against Russia, Russia went into this period with an economy with growth slowing and its own set of economic challenges. That the sanctions themselves and the uncertainties that have come from the sanctions will certainly contribute to Russia's economic difficulties. We don't see that the sanctions that have been imposed in either direction as being of overwhelming economic importance yet. I'd agree with him. But we certainly don't rule out a future round of sanctions or counter-sanctions could be extremely consequential for Russia, Ukraine, and Europe. Moving on, global remittances, including those to high-income countries, are estimated at $581 billion this year, from $542 billion in 2013, and rising to $681 billion in 2016. Remittances to countries in East Africa continued to grow robustly last year by 10% in Kenya, 15% in Uganda. Sub-Saharan Africa is one of the few regions in the world where official development assistance is larger than remittances, and both are more stable than either foreign direct investment or private financing flows. Very true. Currency markets, the euro is back around the 138 level. It touched 139.67 on March 13. That was the strongest since October 2011. And that's when Draghi started talking about the exchange rate. Dollar index, little bit of a rebound, 79.79. Japanese yen 101.94, so the dollar stronger there as well. Swissy 0.8805, the pound 167.16, the Aussie 0.392. It did close at the highest since November 19 yesterday, but fell after the RBA reiterated the most prudent course is likely to be a period of steady interest rates. This was in the latest minutes, and they cited the currency strength. India rupee 60.292, South Korean won 10.4315, both slightly off their recent highs. Rial 221.54, and the Rial was the second biggest gainer yesterday. Egyptian pound 6.98, and the South African rand a little bit softer, 10.5209. This was interesting coming out of China. The broadest measure of credit fell 19% from a year earlier in March, and money supply grew the least since 2001. China's gross domestic product grew 1.5% from the previous 3 months, according to the median estimate in the Bloomberg survey, down from 1.8% in the fourth quarter, and that indicates a sharper deceleration than the median projection for 7.3% growth from a year earlier, down from 7.7%. I think it's slowing faster than consensus has allowed. I'll put up a 3-month chart of the dollar index. That's a little bit firmer. Janet Yellen is speaking at a financial conference today. U.S. retail sales rose in March by the most since September 2012. That gave the dollar a bit of a lift after falling 1% the previous week. Euro dollar 138.16. Draghi is trying to sort of talk it a little bit lower. Dollar yen The dollar's a little bit firmer at 101.94. Gold 1326.07. Geopolitical concerns around the Ukraine and other places giving it a little bit of a bid. It reached 1331.20 yesterday, which was the highest since March 24. Crude oil, I'm looking at the June contract, but interestingly there's a squeeze in the front contract at the moment. June contract is at 102.57. Contract for May delivery, it was at 104.05, so you got backwardation, which was the highest settlement since March 3rd. 105.22 was the high for 2014, and that was on March the 3rd, when Russian forces went and seized Crimea. Russia's MICEX, by the way, fell 1.3% yesterday, taking its loss since Putin's incursion into the Crimea region at the beginning of March to 7%, and I think it's a screaming buy, and that's why the fall has been so minuscule when you think about the news flow. Sub-Saharan Africa, the South African all-share bounced yesterday. It's backed up 5.58% in 2014. Sab Miller Africa issued a 14th of April trading update, and I'm just going to the Africa piece of the puzzle. Tanzania lager volumes grew 4%, but they're talking about weak conditions, market conditions in the fourth quarter. Zambia encountered a challenging fourth quarter due to excise-related pricing taken in January 2014. Full-year lager volume growth 6%. Political tensions in Mozambique continue to impact demand. Lager volumes ended down 2% for the year. Nigeria and Ghana delivered strong double-digit volume growth in spite of economic challenges. Uganda full-year lager volumes declined 3%, though there is an improvement in the fourth quarter. Soft conditions persisted in Zimbabwe, resulting in lager volumes declining by 18%, so it's quite a good proxy, isn't it? Castle delivered lager volume growth of 6%, citing a strong performance in Angola. Soft drinks volume growth of 6% reflected good performances in Zimbabwe, Ghana and Zambia. So very interesting granularity. Dollar rand 10.52.0475. I think it's going to go and test 10. But at the moment we've got a slightly firmer dollar globally. Egyptian pound just below 7 at 6.98. The Egyptian stock market is up 17.1% so far this year, and is the best performing stock market in Africa. The Nigerian all-share, although it had its biggest single-day drop since April 1, it's down 4.3% in 2014 and resilient. Yesterday was the worst ever bomb attack on Nigeria's capital, killed at least 71 people, and has sparked concerns Islamists are shifting their targets from the northeast to the center and south of Africa's biggest oil producer. So the concern is really that what was at the periphery now begins to infect the center. I'll put up a photograph that I found of this post the attack and remind you of that quote I found on the Wall Street Journal by the leader of the Boko Haram, Abu Bakr Shekau, practically George Bush. In his comment, there are only two groups of people in the world. They are either those who are with us or against us. Ghana Stock Exchange is up 7.79%. 2014, but gains have been eroded by the cedi, which is down practically double that amount that the Ghana Stock Exchange is up. I'll put up a photograph that I found from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases of Ebola. The Tanzanian leader is wary of backlash as gas super tax is considered. Tanzania may reconsider the proposed introduction of a super tax profit on natural gas production after gold miners criticized a similar measure recommended 3 years ago. President Jakaya Kikwete said, "We have not taken a final decision yet. It's something we are aware that may create a lot of concerns and jitters and may probably have negative effects. We'll look into that carefully." Parliament has pushed up a plan which would involve windfall taxes, particularly on the gas sector. 15 people were injured late on Sunday when a makeshift bomb exploded at a crowded bar in Arusha. And Arusha is a popular destination for Western tourists in northern Tanzania. Bomb exploded at the Arusha Night Park pub. This was a handmade bomb. It was planted there by an unknown person. These explosions first started at a church, then moved to a public rally organized by the opposition Chadema party, and now at a pub. I don't know what is going on in Arusha. I'll put up a photograph of the Arusha Night Park pub. Congo militia leader killed in army gunfight. Paul Sadala, a poacher turned militia leader known as Morgan, or Mai Morgan, who operated in Congo's Oriental province, surrendered on Saturday with around 40 of his followers. He was being brought by the army to the town of Bunia when he attacked the soldiers escorting him, government spokesman Lambert Mende told Reuters. They said in another report last July that former captives had told them the group known as Mai Morgan had engaged in cannibalism on several occasions. Pretty surreal. The 12-month cumulative remittance inflows increased by 10.5% to $1.3 billion in February this year. This is for Kenya. Remittances rose 8% in February. And look at the composition. Remittance inflows from all regions remain resilient. North America accounts for 48.6% of total inflows in February. Europe 27.7%. So these are new sorts of ties that are binding Kenya. Setting up of standard gauge railway to begin next month. Construction of the Mombasa-Nairobi standard gauge railway will start next month after the government concludes a loan agreement with China. The pact, which will see the Chinese government release the money needed to start the project, will be signed next month. Speaking on NTV News at 9 on Sunday, Deputy Prime President William Ruto said Kenya would host Chinese Prime Minister Li Keqiang, during whose visit the two countries will put pen to paper on the final pact to finance the railway setup. I'll put up a photograph of the Mombasa-Nairobi railway I took at Christmas time, and I'll link to the article I wrote on August 2013 about Uhuru Kenyatta rebalancing towards China. The Kenya shilling has softened a little bit, last trading at 86.843. The Nairobi All shares closed at a fresh record high. It's plus 6.4105% now in 2014. But this move to new all-time highs has been led by Safaricom, which also has closed at a record high of 1285. It's up 18.433% in 2014, and with a market cap of 514.57 billion as of this morning, it has a huge impact on the all-share index. If you want to have a look at an interview I did with Bob Collymore after the release of his first half results, clearly the market is anticipating extremely strong results, and I think they're right to anticipate that. I'll put up that photograph of Bob I like. The NSE 20 index is still negative for the year, minus 0.362%. There is a link where you can check any listed share price. And finally, DEG is bought into the Pan-African reinsurer Zephyr, and that's diluted Kenya Re's holding, but it's been seen as largely positive for Kenya Re. Once again, thank you for stopping by. Looking forward to this long weekend. I hope you are too.